What's up, everybody? How are you guys? Lovely day here at the shack. Friday, I took off work. Man, I got caught up on so much stuff. Like I put in 16 hours out here, but I got some projects out, got some jobs done, and I've been able to do a little playing today. And I'm still doing a little playing over there. I don't know if y'all can see it or not. It's going to be a minute. Uh, that job is going to take quite a while. So far, it's probably a good, I don't know, 2 millimeters deep, but I'm wanting to go a little deeper than that. I've set it for 200 passes, so we're going to let that run for a little while. That coin is probably a good quarter of an inch thick. So my plans is to put that logo on this side and another logo of another guy on the other side. So there we go. Whew. You get your stuff working, Steve?
No.
Guys, Steve's having technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, my camera control thing is messed up, so you get the wide view tonight.
I think you could crop it down in Streamlabs, can't you? Or are you using Streamlabs for it?
No, like I told you, Streamlab is all messed up, so I tried going native.
Oh, okay. I got you. Well, what's up? There may be an echo. I don't know. It's probably when I had that other camera up because I've actually got audio on that other camera. So let me see if I can. Hello. So I can mute that camera there. I was using it to get some B-roll, so I had it unmuted so that it would catch the audio for you guys. I'm working on the video for the 60 watt. Good deal, Brian. Good deal, Brian. Huh?
I said hashtag Clack gets all the cool lasers.
But ain't got no UV printer though.
I said lasers. I didn't say toys. I said lasers.
So how's your day been going? I'm afraid to ask because we had a little bit of an exchange when you first got in here. But
yeah, well, so people who caught my live stream yesterday, I hopped on partially to test things so I wouldn't have problems tonight. I was shuffling some things in the shop. As a matter of fact, I threw some French cleats up on the wall and added some lasers. As a matter of fact, I might be able to get a view of that there. And in doing so, I accidentally unplugged basically I turned off the power switch to the computer, which I didn't mean to do. So when I went to reboot it, hold on here. When I went to reboot it, it didn't want to turn back on. So
well, that's no good.
So yeah, I spent Friday night kind of fixing my computer. I mean, I had to tear it down. I had to pull the CPU out and everything, and finally got everything plugged back in and rebooted. But I wanted to test things out. So I did a live stream yesterday talking about what's been going on. And it's been a somewhat productive weekend out here in the shop. I've been working with the craft laser. One random issue, and it popped up on the live stream yesterday, is and I've only seen it happen during light burn material tests, is it will get partway through and just stop. The laser doesn't disconnect, it just stops. Now I've been running my own independent material tests. I've been running long jobs. I've been running everything else, and it's fine. So there's just something right now about that. Can't figure it out yet, but I've been moving ahead with some other testing and such. And yeah, now tonight, some of the software is not wanting to work right. So I don't know. Maybe I still have some computer issues, but it has been I've been out here working on that. It's probably hard to see in this widescreen view, but back there on the bench, I do have the Jamitsu Cubico out, and ran a quick test engrave. This is on some plywood. It's not the greatest because it chips out, but was just kind of getting a feel for the machine. So I'll be working with that a bit, trying to finish up stuff on the craft, but I also been playing around with the UV printer. And one of the things that was requested a lot from people was actually wondering about printing on um, leatherette. And so I did take some. This is some new sticky back stuff I've got from Great Cars. They finally come out with their own with the adhesive back, but it's a 3M adhesive. So I got to look at that to see if it's actually heat activated. But I did two different sizes, and I cut it out on the laser first, and then used the camera in the printer to align the graphic to it, and it came out pretty well.
I was supposed to say, if you align that after it had been cut, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that was one of the concerns is, if you're doing, like coins and other stuff, you're obviously not cutting them out. So you've got to rely on that camera for alignment. And so far, it's actually turned out to be fairly accurate. There's some slight deviations in it if you look closely, but pretty happy with how that's going. They're still pushing out some updates, and they just sent out another survey to some of their independent testers and the YouTube people and such. So I think more to come on that. I actually want to put together a video with like this, along with a couple other ideas I've had of mixing that UV printer with laser work. So probably some more to come out with that, mixing it in with some of the lasers. But yeah, hopefully everybody got to check that out. Hopefully my video, I was trying to find a balance of explaining what it could do along with showing some projects and such. And so hopefully that gave people a good overview of what's possible with that machine. But
yeah, I'm thinking 200 may be a bit much, Steve. It says it's 25%. It's 30 minutes in. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm thinking, because it looks pretty deep. I'm thinking if I let this run 200 passes, I may not be able to come in that far from the other side. So
yeah. Yep. But
it looks like it's a good solid millimeter deep already, or if not a millimeter and a half. So I don't know. I've got plenty of those little blanks, so I guess I can just let that one run, and we can see how deep 200 gets us, and go from there. But yeah, so if y'all hear any noise in the background, that's what I got going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely deeper than the coins I've been playing with.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna tell you, I don't know. I've got a 30-watt MOPA, but it don't do what this one does. I don't know if it's that big of a difference between 30 and 60, or if there's something a little different about this one. I think this one's actually focusing in a little. It's got autofocus, but I want to say I think it focuses a little low, or either it's just the focus is very forgiving. It's probably the lens that's on it, because it does have a small work area, but man, it'll eat. So what's up, Cody? Appreciate you, sir. Yeah, I had to cut grass today too, so I've been cutting grass and working in the shop, everything today.
All right. I've got an example, because we always hear about this. People ask about color engraving on stainless steel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is possibly the worst laser to do it with, because it's only a 1.2 watt IR. But I had this nice chunk of stainless steel. I'd have to measure it, but it's not super thin, but got a decent gradient there. Some blues, some browns. So I ran the exact same settings on that one on a slightly thinner piece of stainless steel.
Yeah.
It is way different.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe this machine with really thick material, maybe it's doable, but I've spent so much time over the past couple of years trying to, get consistency with that I just assume not do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yep. So, I mean, then add to the capability of this one to fire the blue diode along with the IR. I've been doing some tests. I played around with some slate, and now I sanded the slate down to get a nice super smooth finish. Let's see here. Let's look at this. So this is the difference between the IR on top and the blue diode on bottom. Man, my camera being wide, this is hard to get in there.
Yeah.
And then this is the combination, which honestly, well, I should put it this way, isn't a whole lot different than just the straight blue diode.
I never really could nail down a major difference. I'm not going to say any difference, but a major difference. The only thing that I kind of think it made a little bit more difference on was the anodized, like the car tags and stuff that I do. So because it gives you a little more ability to shade and stuff.
Sure. I've only played with the IR on some anodized cards. I do have some more of that. I do think if I could find, and that's why I was trying to play around with the stainless steel. So if I could find the right settings, I think it could have an effect there. But it's interesting. But I don't know, with that only that 1.2 watt setting on there, I don't know that that it's going to do a whole lot for you as far as mixing the two. But definitely gives you a larger work area if you've got a bigger metal piece you want to work with. But man, that's going to take a while at the size of that work area. So, but anyway, yeah, I've been playing around with the craft. I'm trying to get more of kind of my results. I did the project video and I've thrown out some teasers with it, but I kind of want to get more of like my overall, here's my thoughts after using it for a bit out there. And then, when I get started with that Cubico, because I know you got your production one. You put a video out on that and kind of teased.
I will say, because they told me when they sent me that one that there was a lot of 3D printed parts on the prototype.
Mm-hmm.
It worked, but I do feel with the production one, they sturdied it up a little bit. I don't know if it's because of the lack of all the 3D printed parts or whatever. It is a little more rigid, and so I was able with a 1/8 inch bit, I was able to go. I think I was doing 1 millimeter deep passes on pine, which and it come out pretty clean. I mean, it. What I do with them? I've got them right here somewhere. I did a couple little trays with it, and I mean, I had a little bit of witness lines in the bottom, but not bad, especially considering there's really no way to trim the machine. But it looked good. So that was it was to me it was actually a little surprising because it does still have a plastic Z-axis as far as like the spindle holder and everything, but it's more of a almost like a poured type, like a molded type plastic rather than 3D printed. So the original one, the prototype I've got, it looks like it came off of a now. And I'm not, when I say 3D printer, I don't mean like a filament printer. I mean like what is the resin printers or whatever is what it feels like. But it didn't use the best material on that prototype. But the consumer one, it was a little sturdier. But they still, that limit switch on the top, that the cover can vibrate loose, and that thing's been driving me nuts. I don't know if you've had a problem with yours yet, but that cover kept coming up and pausing my job and stuff on mine, on both of them.
I had to push mine down a little bit more. It didn't quite catch the latch. The odd thing is once I get it latched, then getting it back off, I'm like, come on, move. So
okay.
I don't know. I have to take a look at it a little bit closer to see where that little catch point is. Because definitely if it doesn't hit that little limit switch on the top, it doesn't start. But I've only, like I said, I unboxed it in the basement shop, and then I brought it out here today so I could work with it and the lasers. And so we'll see. I'll have to keep an eye on it and see if I notice anything. But it does like to buzz around a little bit. Did you get the foam feet with yours?
Yeah, like the little peel and stick ones. I put them on my original one. The second one I didn't.
I'm curious if it makes makes a difference.
But now I did set it on a piece of silicone when I was running it. I'll show you. So this is I bought a piece of silicone to use with my heat press, and I had this piece, and so instead of putting the feet on it because I was going to ship it back out, I just set it on top of this to kind of give it a little something to, absorb some of that vibration, and it worked fine. But I didn't want to put the sticky feet on there and then ship it out to somebody because that one's going to be given away. So I ran it for like an afternoon, just testing it, comparing it to the settings that I'd used for the other machine. Did a couple of projects, examined it, and it's back in the box, ready to be shipped over there. I just got to get everything, all the logistics in order. Brian's asking what I did to Yuffie. I didn't do nothing to him, Brian. I think Steve may have told him, hey, that guy over at the Clack Shack, you don't want to send him one, because he found out about that thing a while ago, and so I don't know. Maybe I'm just not cool enough to be in the cool kids club. I'm not sure.
I mean, they just reached out to me.
But that's fine. I had plenty to go do, plenty going on. I've been staying really busy. I've managed to get most all of my jobs done that I had this weekend, and I've taken in 3 more jobs, and I've got 2 of those done. Matter of fact, one of them, I had a guy come in the other day. He called me and was Tim, my buddy over at the trophy shop, referred him, and he had a piece of brass that he wanted engraved because he was making his own personal, like, custom wind chime. And so he had a round piece of brass that he wanted some text engraved on, and it was going to be like like his family name and the kids' names and all that. And so he called me and came over here, and I set the file up. And of course, I've been playing around with some stainless steel and some brass coins and stuff, but I wasn't 100% sure on this brass plate he had what the settings were going to be. So I went with the settings that I came up with for the coin. And I just told him, I was like, hey, look, don't, I'm not going to touch anything. We're going to run it. We'll look at it. And if you think you like the way it looks, then we'll stop there. If not, we can run it a couple more times and get it deeper. But I ran it like 2 passes using those coin settings, and he loved it because it turned it nice and black, got a little bit of depth in the engrave, and he was happy with it. And it was an easy, like, I think I charged him like $30 for, a brass chime, about probably 3-inch circle. We did both sides of it, but easy, quick, $30 in and out. And he was very, very happy. Matter of fact, before he left here, he was already referring me to some of his friends that do. He said he had some friends that do like bowl turning and stuff like that were interested. But he had contacted Tim, and of course Tim doesn't have a fiber yet, so Tim was referred him over to me.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've already got some people asking me for work with the UV printer as well. So
Sure.
My problem with that is, they only sent us so much ink, and
You can't buy it right now.
I don't know. Yeah, so they've actually been coming out with new inks as well. So one of the things that they're going to come out with is when dealing with like a glossy finish, like a ceramic coat that's got the glazing on it, things like that. It's a little hit or miss whether the ink is going to stick long term. And so they say you should apply like a primer type stuff to it first. And it sounds like they're going to come out with a primer cartridge so that you can do that. They've also they did push out a new firmware to us and new software. And if you didn't get both together, you thought your printer was broken, like many others. But so they are still kind of fine tuning it. But I don't know the availability of ink until, they're talking the Kickstarter is going to go through couple months. I think it's got another 50 days or so on it, and then they're shipping, right around July. That's a ways to wait for ink. So we'll see. But David is asking what's the cost of the ink. The retail price for a set of the 6 cartridges plus the cleaning cartridges is going to be around $300. Or they're saying, I think the individual cartridges are going to be $43, and those are 100 milliliter cartridges. So roughly 43 cents a milliliter, and it shows you how much it's going to cost. I did throw out a short earlier today, just printing up it's a little 2 by 2 3/4 inch ceramic magnet, little Star Wars poster on that one. And I think it estimated it was going to use 0.1 milliliter, so 4 cents of ink on that. But there is some waste because of the cleaning process, so I'm still trying to get a feel for the overall average cost of things for that printer, but that's roughly what it's going to cost. Now, if you do jump on the Kickstarter, you can add an extra set of ink to it, and I would strongly recommend you do that because they're offering it with the Kickstarter at like $180 for the bundle. And so far, the ink has gone a long way. I've printed a lot of things. I've had to replace the white and the clear because they use those to kind of build stuff up. But all the other colors, I'm still kind of going on my primary cartridge. And I've printed quite a few of those large canvas prints. So it up front, the whole bundle seems expensive, but depending on what you're doing, and as long as you're not doing a lot of the 3D layering stuff, that those ink cartridges should last quite a while.
No, Brian, I got my machine over here running, and I didn't want to forget and flip around and look at that and forget to put them on. So typically when I'm running the fiber, I'll just go ahead and I just wear them. These are the green ones. These are specifically for the fiber frequency, and then of course these are my orange, and these rated for the blues as well as the fibers. But I just been wearing these today because the green doesn't mess with the colors and stuff that you look at as bad as the orange does. That orange will mess with you. So, but it's getting there. It's showing that it's only about 45%. I set it at 200 passes, but keep in mind the other day when I ran the 200 passes on that brass coin, I actually cut a hole through it. So I'm gonna try not to do that. But these coins here are that aluminum is about 6.43 millimeters thick. These are a little aluminum cutoffs that I got from the local fabrication machine shop here in town. And I go in there from time to time and dig through their scrap bin and look for, cool pieces of metal that I can use with the fibers. And they had a bunch of these in there. I don't know what they were cutting them off of, but I don't know if it was just like they were trimming something or what, but I swear they had probably about 30 of these things. And I grabbed a handful of them. And like I said, I basically buy these by the pound because whatever their scrap is, I'll buy like a handful of small stuff, a couple of pieces of bigger stock, and so forth. And I was going to get some brass. I was looking for some brass like this, but the brass that they had was not like that, and it was very expensive. Like I grabbed 2 pieces of brass, and those 2 pieces were $40-something, and they weren't heavy. So, well, no, that's why I got the glasses on.
I've been trying to price some brass, and it's it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Radu, any word on how long the print head is supposed to last? Only 3-month warranty. Heard similar heads go for $1,000. No, you're right. The printer overall has a 1-year warranty, but the print head only 3 months. I'm not sure. I was trying to get connected on. They have a Discord for us where they have some other FAQs, but I haven't heard. I know there's been a bit of some of the other creators have called the Facebook groups a bit toxic with some of the people, and a lot of There's other companies in there putting out some disinformation. So I can't verify or deny any of that. I haven't looked at it, and like I say, I haven't. They haven't told us yet as far as certain replacement parts, like a lifespan on some of those or not. So yeah, I'm not sure. The whole printer is going to retail for $2,000. So just the print head for $1,000, I don't know. It's possible. I mean, you look at the laser head modules, and some of those, go for $400, $500, $600. So it is kind of the brains and the meat of the device. So it could be expensive, but part of that too is I don't know about the wear and tear on this. This is a slightly different print head, allegedly. Again, there's a little bit of having to trust the manufacturer on the information we're giving. I can't necessarily independently verify everything on it. So, but yeah, it, kind of like any device, how well it's supported when you do have issues is going to be the question.
Sup, Greg? How are you, sir? Got that shop built yet? He said he should have it built by June, so that means he should have walls standing by now. So
June's coming up fast.
Yeah, because he was saying that he was going to be in it hopefully June or July. So unless he's had to push his timeline back, which if it's anything like my place, timelines are going to get pushed back.
They're a little fluid.
Yeah. Cody says, when are you going to demo a Maker Forge and replace the plastic printed parts with AI parts? I'm not sure. I have to look and see what that is. I want one of these machines here that printed this. I got this at CES, and this is awesome. I don't know. This material is hard, but that machine was very expensive. Very expensive. Oh, I don't forgot the name of it now. But I know that guy, when he told me it was $60,000 for the printer, I'm like, oh, okay, let me just keep on walking.
Yeah.
What was it?
Oil Lamp Stew is asking, do I think the craft will become a long-term machine in your shop or something that gets put away? I do like it. I think it's going to compete well with the X-Tool S1, which is one of the primary lasers I keep running in my basement shop. And I'll have some more of my final thoughts on it in the video. The one thing that would really help me say yes to this, and I think they're coming out with it, because if you dig into their software, it comes up as an option.
I know what you're fixing to say.
I want that 40-watt head.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a 40-watt blue diode than the combination of the 20-watt and IR. Now, the 20-watt has been doing a pretty good job of cutting material and doing some engravings. I was able to. Now, this is 3 passes at 5 millimeters a second, but this is 1/2-inch poplar, and so it if you really need it to, it'll cut through some thick material like that. And as far as quality engravings, this is an image of a husky dog I used to have. His name was Dakota. I'm trying to get it to where it'll focus but have quality. And the quality on that is actually pretty good. The same photo on, now this of course is using the IR module, but same photo on aluminum card. So the quality is there. The features are there that I like. The autofocus is nice. You can do it through Lightburn or the button on the front. Possibly my biggest complaint about it right now would be the exhaust. It's up top and on the back, on the back side corner. I'd much rather it be in the back of the laser and down lower. But and then the lights and the lights in there. Let me dim them down.
They need a dimmer or either like a potential. You could add one, but what would be nice was if they went inside the cover or even on the outside and just added a potentiometer with an off location as well. Because when you're calibrating the camera, that light does create some problems with the calibration. I had to tape mine up with some frog tape just to get the calibration done because it was whiting out the camera so bad. But now, once you get that done, it's not. I was able to adjust the brightness in Lightburn and get a good look, but yeah, they need to add a variable power for the lights. I agree with you on that one. And the honeycomb, if they'd have just spot welded a little piece of metal in the bottom of that thing to hold that honeycomb still, it would have made me happy.
Yep. Yeah, it'd be nice if that locked in place. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's a pretty stout machine. I like the air assist. It's got a variable knob on it, so you can turn it on and off in Lightburn or their software, and then you can adjust if you want it high, low, or engraving. It technically has a little water well to pump water in to put out the fire, but I'm not wanting to test that yet. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. We'll have to see. Like I say, if they send me a 40-watt head for this thing, yeah, it would probably. I like that it's low profile. Now the caveat to this, I don't have the riser like Clack does, and having seen it, I don't know that I want it. But if you want to do tumblers, you gotta have it. So, this does limit you to probably what 3/4 to an inch thick material maximum.
Yeah, the riser is not that bad if you want to do taller things and you want to do tumblers, but you know as well as I do, those little sling bed extension slides or whatever, I'm just not a fan of those. And like I said, Adam Stack, as far as the ones I've tested, theirs works and it does what they say it does. I just still don't like them because you can't put your machine against the wall because it has to go back and forth inside there. And I would like it better probably if it was like left to right or something like that. But to me, it's just either it has the work area or it doesn't when it comes to that machine. But yeah, News Fan says Yuffie didn't want to hear me say what was wrong with her printer.
Yeah,
which is possible. I mean, but I don't lie on these machines. I'm honest about it, and I like to make sure if you get the machine and it's an issue that I was aware of, I don't want to be, thinking that, I knew about it, but I didn't tell you. So,
right.
Not saying that every issue is going to show up when we're testing machines, but just like with this fiber, I mean, it's been running now for about 45 minutes and it's running good. So that, it could tear up next week, but we try to pass on to you guys things that we see that either are wrong with the machines, have potential to be a problem, or just inconveniences. Because a lot of times it's just an inconvenience. It's not nothing that can't be, DIY'd and, kind of fixed a little bit or whatever. It's just things that are inconvenient and that you shouldn't have to do sometimes. So,
yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, some of it too is I don't have like another UV printer to compare this one to. So I was trying to caution my impressions of it, of being too, oh wow, this thing's really cool because it's new to me, versus also trying to find any of its flaws. And so I do plan on following it up with some more videos over the next couple weeks. The Kickstarter does go for a while yet, and maybe some things will come up like, hey, by the way, this is something I've noticed more. I think the biggest issue is really you can print on a lot of things, but there are some things that it won't print on, or it'll print on, but then you start using it and it might rub off of. So it's definitely something you want to have material that have a little bit of a bite to it. So like the tumblers that they provided, they were like white coated with like a matte finish. They weren't shiny, and those work really well. So some of those things are going to be kind of caveats until you kind of figure out other methods. But I do have to say, for having never used a UV printer before, it was pretty easy to get up and running with it, and have a lot of successes with it. So that in and of itself, I mean, I've had lasers that are billed as being simple for people to use. I've been using lasers for darn near 10 years now, and some of them I'm going, this is difficult. So,
Yeah, and that's and I like to call those tripping hazards when I find something that's just, it's like this machine right here. Have you ever had a fiber laser that when you power it up, before you can actually engrave something, you have to hit a button to turn on the source? I hadn't either. This is like my fifth fiber laser. And for 3 days, I'm emailing Home Tech, and I'm like, hey, I can't get it to do that. And I felt like an idiot when I finally found it. But the label on the button said reset. It didn't say power on laser source. It said reset. So, yeah, there's sometimes these machines can be a little challenging. And that's why I like getting them and testing them and playing with them and creating my own config files and stuff like that. That way it makes the process easier for, the folks that do buy the machine. We've already kind of found those things that, you need to know about when you get it and pointed them out to them. So that's part of the reason I like doing reviews and stuff. Greg saying his shop will be up next week. I'm supposed to get an invitation to come view it at some point, I think, if I didn't get kicked out of the Cool Kids Club. I didn't get one of those printers. So
yeah, I think that might be a telling, not getting included on that. The word's out there. Maybe you're being blackballed on it.
I was fixing to say it may be coming.
Yeah. News fan is wondering if I'd be willing to print a picture on canvas. Possibly. Like I say, I'm still trying to figure out how much ink I have and how long that's going to last, and still wanting to do some of my own tests. But hit me up, send me an email, and we can talk about what you're looking at or what you're needing, and maybe it fits into some of my content or something. But
I was fixing to say, yeah, do it like I tell people all the time. Can I use it as a video?
Yeah.
Because if I can, that's going to affect the pricing.
Right.
This coin is starting to look awesome. I was a little worried about it being aluminum, but man, it is starting to look awesome. That thing's probably 2 millimeters deep now.
Pretty cool.
Like it is deep. And right now, let's see. It is showing that it is at an hour engraving. It's at 48%. So I'm thinking seriously about stopping it at the halfway mark and hoping that if I stop the other one or if I set the other one for just 100 passes, that I'll have the similar results. I think that's what I'm fixing to do. I'm going to let this thing hit 50%, I think, and I'm going to kill it and go that route. So it's at 48 now, an hour and 2 minutes. Because I'm curious to see what it looks like. But I have learned with this machine, used to I could use wood, put wood underneath them and stuff like that. You can't do that with it.
Not so much anymore.
No, this one right here, your wood will start turning black on you.
Yup. Hey, Brian's got a good idea.
What's that?
Wants to rename YouTube Shorts to YouTube Clock Size.
Wow. I ain't got my little soundboard anymore. The software, they kept updating and it kept messing up my audio stuff, so I got rid of it after I had bought a premium membership. But it was
Jeannie's asking if is the ink brittle? Yes and no. Part of it depends on how thick it gets layered. So I mean, like this is printed on leather or the fake leather, and I can flex it around like that, and it's not chipping off. But they also have a sticker function where you print it on some sticky paper and put it through a laminator and whatnot. Those, if you flex too much, they will snap. And they also said so far their initial ink is not really meant for like fabrics and such. So yeah, there is a it's not quite like the DTF type printing where you can put that on fabric and it's very, very flexible. It does flake off eventually or chip off, but they're also said they are working on some more flexible friendly inks as well. It ran away.
I was asked a question.
Okay.
News fan, that one was done with a laser. I do those. I do those with my X40 Max. Boom. So is this one. This one is for. I'm not sure exactly what it's for. Either graduation, maybe. I'm not. I'm not sure. My party planner orders these things. This one anyway. It's for my party planner, but it's like some nice little gold sparkles, and in the back's just gold paint because I don't like leaving the. I don't like the back being a different color, but this flat gold is cheaper than the gold sparkles. So I did gold sparkles on the presentation side and then just flat gold on the other side. But these are done in the X40.
Cool. And I didn't know you were into glitter, but hey.
Well, the glitter paint costs a little more for the finished product, but they gladly pay it. I have
Oh, go ahead.
Brian, I think about it, yes, but here lately I've been changing fibers like I changed my shoes, and so I haven't built one yet. Until I get the fiber that I'm pretty sure I'm going to have for a while, I'm not going to be building one just yet. I printed these out, by the way. Awesome. Awesome. That's right. They're little triangles when you paint and stuff.
Yeah, you can buy those at Menards pretty cheap.
You can print them. I printed these in like an hour. Hey man, I'm just trying to use my tools. I'm not gonna keep it.
Yeah, that's how you run out of orange filament, and bamboo can't keep up with it.
Oh crap! I just dropped them. I use black on these.
So yeah, Brian, as far as an enclosure, I definitely think that if you're going to get a fiber laser and it's going to be running in your shop for a variety of reasons, not only the reflection of in your eye and not having to wear the goggles so much, but just the particulate they create. Anything you can do to help keep that from drifting away. I mean, everybody puts those exhaust cones on the back, but those are only so effective, and some of it can still kind of float away a little bit. So definitely I would consider building one. I do have plans to do that down in my basement area because that's where I tend to run those more, keep them out of this dusty environment. But I'm also in the process of trying to shuffle things down there because I want to rebuild workbenches to make that a little bit easier. So yeah, if you're getting a fiber laser, I would definitely look for an enclosure.
All right, I think I'm gonna look for a good place to stop it.
Getting too deep?
Well, it's plenty deep. I think at this point I'm just beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm gonna try to time it just right. Oh, missed it. Let me get it on this next pass. We'll try to stop it right as it finishes the pass. It's at 52%, hour and 8 minutes in. So, and ready. There we go. Got it stopped. Phew. Ooh, everything's blue now. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm going to learn this lesson.
It's a little warm.
That one ain't bad. I picked one up earlier and threw it across the shop. I picked it up. That's so good. My fingers stuck to it. I was like, yeah, that's hot.
Well, we got a new viewer, LB's DIY CNC. Hello, first time on live from Geronimo,
Woo-hoo.
Oklahoma.
Hello.
Welcome. Glad to have you here.
Welcome aboard. Wow. That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome, guys. Look at that. Oh. Let's see how deep it is. Hang on. 1.32.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good enough for what I was wanting. Now I just got to get it. I've got me some. I ordered me some blackening compound to put in them also. So I'm gonna wait on it to get here before I do anything. The one I did earlier playing around, this one right here, I actually took and spray painted it black, and then sanded the top with my sander just to see what the contrast was going to look like. But with this one, I'm going to have, like I said, I've got me some birchwood antique metal marking stuff, and I'm gonna fix it with that.
Cool.
So y'all guess what's going to go on the other side of this coin here? That turned out really nice. That is awesome. I kind of wish I'd have run a cleaning pass across it before I pulled it off there. I guess I could do that real quick.
Well, Oil Lamp Studio is asking, speaking of exhaust, do you modify the exhaust on any of these machines? If so, how do you deal with the factory fan? Well, it's nice when they allow you to remove the fan, because that's always the best. Part of the problem is most of these come with like a 3-inch exhaust port, and on these smaller models, lower power, they work okay. But you get above 20, 30 watts, and you really need to move more air generally, because they tend to create more smoke at that higher power. But even some of those 20 or 30 watts, you find it a little lackluster. So it's nice when they can remove the factory fan. If not, you just deal with it. You try to add the inline as a booster, but it's not being as efficient as if it wasn't there. So like on my X-Tool P2, they allowed you to pull that one out and disable it. On the Lasermatics, the Rolly automation ones, those you can unbolt but keep the shroud on there. I'm not sure on the Atom Stacks. Some of them, they're just plugged in. You can unplug the fan and unscrew it. So some of them, they've been possible. I haven't looked on the Craft how accessible the wiring is on it, but anytime I can disable it and remove it, and because I'm going to put it on an inline fan, I do.
Do a little cleanup on that. Instead of hitting it with a sandpaper.
Yeah. Dwayne's asking if I'm able to retire with the money I can make off Clack on the cup manufacturing. The first one was kind of considered art. I think beyond that, I might have some legal trouble with stealing someone's image and using it for my own gain. So, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. I know a couple of people have been asking me about them. I may have to place some bulk order of some better cups, and we'll put it into the mini split fund.
Yeah. Jim said he's getting his Com Marker CO2 30-watt Galvo tomorrow. No increase in the price. Says Com Marker must have paid it. They have they've actually got quite a few from what I've seen at some of the U.S. warehouses. So until that stock is done, they should still have them at the same price. So, Greg's asking, what is AWFS?
Oh, it's a woodworking show. Isn't that the one? It's not the one in Atlanta, is it, Greg?
That heated it up. Yeah, now I just gotta get my black feel. I actually probably could put a little bit of black what you call it, epoxy. But we'll wait. We've got the antique black stuff coming. But look at that right there. That's like 1.3 millimeters deep. So that's not just a marking. That is officially engraved. So the other side gets this this other guy's stuff. Let me take these off of there.
Association of Woodworking and Furnishing Suppliers. That's what AWFS is. It's actually in Vegas at end of July.
In Vegas? Oh no, I can't. I can't even make those trips right now.
There's that one, and then I forget. There's the one in Atlanta. I think is in the fall, and I forget what that one's called. But.
All right, so we're gonna take that and add it to layer 20, which is my deep dig layer. You know what I'm gonna need? I'm gonna need that right there duplicated. I'll need to bring that over here. But yeah, I'm gonna have to hold off on any trips like that for a little while. I did, if he got his shop finished over there, I did consider coming over to Georgia. But as far as going to somewhere like Vegas again, it's gonna be a little while before I can get around to doing that. Let's see, how do I want to do this? So I want to leave your text high. So let me ungroup this. Do a little offset right there. Oh, no. I guess I got to do the whole thing.
David Allen's wondering if you have your timer set tonight.
No. It's 2 hours. That's generally it. Outer shapes only. Why is it? You got this weird thing going right here with your graphics. So I'm going to have to ungroup all this. Well, why is it?
Mark's going to do the first cuts on his Onefinity.
Woohoo!
I progressed from preschool, kindergarten, grade level proof of cut to about third grade level carving test with multiple tools. It's going to be fun. Well, I hope that goes well. It's a nice machine. I mean, any one of those kind of top 3 or 4 out there right now, the Onefinities and the Shape Ocos and the CNC Labs, soon to be we'll see Pone CNC Dominator, all kind of in that similar class. They're pretty nice machines. A lot you can do with them, but a lot can go wrong in a hurry. So I'm glad you're kind of taking the slow steps, getting there. See, there's a lot of people wanting clock on a cup. I'm gonna have to figure out a list or something like that. It'll be like the back in the 80s. Hardee's had like the various cartoon characters, and one of them was Smurf cups, and so I actually still have a collection of those. So that was one of the things I collected back as a kid. Oil Lamp Sue is asking, is there any safe material to laser cut your own stickers? Yeah, there are some that are going to be more laser safe, just like there is technically some laser safe vinyl that doesn't, have the various things in it. I don't know. I'd have to remember offhand, but the thing is, you still have to print them on something. So people use the print and cut feature they'll print out the sheet on their color printer and whatnot, and then they use the print and cut to align it. So it'll print a couple registration marks, and then you line those up in your laser, and then it should cut out your sticker's okay. So you definitely just want to make sure you look for some laser safe material. It's not something I've played with, so I can't really recommend some, but I have seen some out there. You also forgot to bring your sign for it. People can't see your countdown calendar.
Yeah, I was thinking that you weren't going to make it, so had me a little concerned. But I can go pick that up. Here we go. So, what is started as a plain coin, guys? Here we are. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's bright. That first layer. Look at that. Look at that. All that material is pushing out in the front of the beam there. Crazy. All right. You go grab that sign while I'm thinking about it. I took my head off with it. It fell over on my face. All right. So this side of the coin's not going to be as cool as the other side of the coin because this logo's kind of weird shape. It looks like a, I don't know, upside down pyramid or obelisk. But we'll see.
Anthony's asking, what CO2 brand would you recommend?
That is going to depend on your case use, in my opinion.
I think it depends on your budget.
Well, yeah, that too. But I mean, if you're only wanting it to cut, if you're only wanting to cut acrylic or something like that, then you're not going to need something with a lot of Z-axis, like 6 or 8 inches worth of Z-axis travel or anything like that. So, I like the P2 if you like XCS. If you don't like XCS, do not get the P2 because it's XCS and the P2 are like a package deal. Don't try using Lightburn with it because you're paying all that extra money for all those features, and if you use it with Lightburn, you can't use those features. If you're wanting to run your CO2 with Lightburn, the Hurricane from Adam Stack, I like that machine. I've had good luck with it. Klein's loving it. He's running it at his place right now. I like my OhmTech Polar Plus that I've got. It does a good job. The Mega has potential, but not yet. It's not ready, in my opinion. I have been tempted because I do like some of the physical characteristics of the Mega. I have been tempted to DIY it and make a practical version of it because I think I can. But then the minute that I think, okay, yeah, I'd like to have it for this, the other day I'm running a job and just for no reason, the exhaust fan and the air assist just quit in the middle of the job. And I look in there and there's like 1.5 inch flame coming off my material. So, so I'm thinking it's fixing to be replaced. I tried. I've been patient with this machine, but I can deal with quirky little things, but the risk of a fire, I just not something. Luckily, I was in here with it, and I stay in here with them, but that could be bad for somebody else because the fan just quit blowing, the air assist just quit blowing, and I look over because it got quiet. I noticed it got quiet. I'm like, did the job finish? No, the job's still running, and it burnt my darn painter's tape off of the nozzle because it flamed up without air assist. So not Monport's brightest moment, in my opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of agree with that. I was just running the X-Tool P2 today, doing some acrylic cutouts. My wife needed some templates for cutting some fabric, so she asked if I could cut some things out, which I was lazy. I should have. She wanted some information engraved on each one of them. I really should have pulled out one of the fibers to do that, or even the UV, because it would have been much faster. But that it worked well for that. Like I say, it's flat, it's acrylic, it works really well at that. And I don't mind using XCS. It's what I use with it. So that is a nice one, kind of a midline. You pay a little bit more for it, but it is a pretty good machine. And the P2S, which you could buy now, actually is even a little bit better with some of the things. But as far as your kind of mainstream light burn compatible ones, if you want to dip your toe into CO2 lasers without completely rebuilding one, the Ohmtech Reno Pro series is nice. They got their 45 and their 65. I've got the 45. My only complaint on it really is primarily the air assist. They've got a small air pump in there. It's okay, but I have looked into it. I tore it apart the other day, and there is the Top Wisdom controller does have a port where you could add in a relay to add shop air, and then it would be light burn controlled. But that's going to be $1,000 to $2,000 for either one of those. But they are, if you want kind of the value without all the bells and whistles that sometimes cause problems, that's kind of the bottom of the barrel. The K40s, the M40s, they're okay, but you're really limited with those. Moving up from there, Ohmtech does have some nice ones, but I would say if I was buying one for my business and wanted to get a decent machine without breaking the bank, I'd probably be looking at Thunder Laser. I haven't had one personally, but I've used some that my friends have had. I've had a number of friends use them and really like them. And they seem to be a pretty solid machine. They seem to have pretty decent support. They're not as expensive as some of the others like Trotec and Aeon, or if you're looking at Epilogue and you can actually justify their price, I'm happy for you. But they're expensive. So I think Thunder Laser is kind of a nice happy medium of a light burn compatible laser with some decent support, decent quality. So hopefully that's some helpful information.
Yeah, I'll put it to you this way. I've looked at, once I retire, there's going to be some, I may need to step up production speeds, because I'm going to be more, right now, this is just kind of my hobby, and, it's my business, but it's my hobby. But, if I can retire and drive it up a little bit, if I increase my sales and stuff like that, I've been thinking, I was like, there are times that even with 3 or 4 machines running, I'm having a hard time turning out the volume of stuff that I need. So I've been looking at, if I were going to add a bigger CO2 to use for like my stove covers and stuff like that, what brand would it be? And right now I've emailed Ohmtech to see what kind of prices I can get on a machine big enough to fit those stove covers in. And they've got one that's, I think it's a 36, 35 wide. It's the new Pro model they got. And then the Thunder's the other one that I'm looking at. I think it was it a 51? I think it's got a 51 and a 61. But those are the 2 machines right now that are kind of on my short list of what I think I would like to have. I don't know if I will. I don't know when I will. I don't know. It's a big decision, and right now I ain't got the room for it. But when I retire, I'm gonna have to, if the online revenue and stuff like that doesn't help me pay my insurance and all that, I'm gonna have to pivot to more real products and maybe even start selling stuff on Etsy and stuff like that, other than just files. So that was what I was thinking, was I could get me a bigger machine to use for my production, my high production jobs, and then still do my other stuff with the rest of the machines. So I don't know where I'm at on that yet, but that's the 2. If I were adding one to the shop, that's the 2 that I've narrowed down.
Yeah,
it's Thunder and the Ohmtech. Like you said, Epilogue makes really good machines if you got an extra $25,000, $30,000 laying around.
yeah.
I don't.
Yep. They they like those zeros in
Yeah.
their invoices. So Tim says it looks amazing, so close to pulling the plug on a fiber, looking for portability and eyeing the X-Tool F1 and LaserPecker LP5. I don't know if you mean the F1 Ultra. Those would be the more comparable ones, and those are 20-watt units. You'll be able to do some engraving like that, but it's going to take a lot longer.
I should say I have never been able to do a coin like what that one just was on even my 30-watt MOPA. I mean, I could do it, but it just took forever. This 60-watt is a real. It's doing it a lot faster, and it's still taking a while, but it's doing it a lot faster. Matter of fact, where we at on this logo for this guy here? It's getting there. You can see it, but it hadn't got any depth to it yet, really. I mean, you can tell what it's going to be, but the depth isn't there yet.
So yeah, and looking at those two, the LP5 is portable, a little more so than the F1 Ultra, but the software that drives, they both are technically Lightburn compatible, but not really well. And so you're kind of stuck with their software, and I'll give the hand to X-Tool on their software over most others that are third party or not third party. They're proprietary software.
Oh, I agree.
So yeah, the only thing is the F1 Ultra is you can move it, but they don't make it convenient to.
Yeah.
So there's
they intentionally left the handle off of that one.
Yeah. Now the original F1, the 10-watt diode and the 2-watt IR, that's very portable. That's great. I've taken that a lot of places, but it doesn't quite have the power that the 20-watt fibers have.
Herb Browning says just received a Masuder 3S Friday. Oh boy, going to use Clack's method design in Lightburn. Yeah, you can design like your basic toolpath stuff as far as your shapes and stuff in Lightburn and bring it over. And then once you learn how to assign speeds and feeds to it, it makes it easier. Whew. It makes it easier to do to me. I'm getting better at designing in Vectric because I'm just using it more. But I'm still more comfortable on anything complex. I'm more comfortable in Lightburn. Somebody was saying earlier that with it being a MOPA, I should be able to calibrate a black marking pass after the cleaning pass. Yeah, I probably could. With this aluminum, I will tell you, though, aluminum tends to go white before it goes black. And I'm just not going to sit here and I don't want to take a chance on messing up my pretty engrave. I think either an enamel, like a black fingernail polish enamel or something like that, or some of this antique black that I got coming is a better fit. If it was stainless, I can make stainless turn black as all get out. But aluminum, it seems the hotter you get aluminum, that white layer of basically tarnish or whatever it forms on it, it just gets whiter and whiter from my experience. Now, like I said, I'm a relative noob when it comes to MOPAs, but all of the testing that I've done with aluminum, it just turns white. Like I can't make it turn black. It's either brown, a little bit of gray, or white. It seems to be the colors that I can get on aluminum.
Madra is mentioning, I just bought the first laser, love my 60-watt CO2. Would have been disappointed with something smaller. Yeah, that's where that was actually my first laser, was a 60-watt CO2, and it had a larger working area. And a lot of that was driven by what I was looking for at the time, was something to help cut model airplane parts. And so I think the working bed on that one was right around 27 inches by 16 or 17 deep. Which was okay. It would have been nice to get a little bit wider, because I use 36-inch, sometimes even 48-inch long sheets of balsa when building model aircraft. But it was a balance of price and my budget at the time. But as far as cutting ability and such, yeah, I think getting into a 60 watt is, if you're wanting to do much over 1/8 inch with actually, it'll cut through 1/4 inch, but a lot of times it's multiple passes or it's a slow speed, and that's where you start running into either a lot of time or slower speeds run risk of fire. So a 60 watt is really nice to get into kind of at a minimum, and also the bed size. If you've got the space, you can never go wrong with a bigger bed, except for with CO2s. The bigger bed, sometimes a harder time aligning that laser. The further it's got to throw that beam, the easier it is for it to get out of alignment on the mirror. So, but yeah, I would agree. That's kind of a nice spot. But if you're just doing, 1/8 inch acrylic, thinner craft wood, you can definitely get by with some of the smaller 40 watts and such as well.
Yeah. Now, there's a practice run I did on doing serial numbers. And like I said, these I plan on using the stain with anyway. But yeah, black just, yes, I can get it, but it just makes it rough.
Anthony's asking, do you have to run water coolers with them? With the CO2s, yeah. Unless you get it like an RF tube, which is air cooled, but those tend to be more expensive. They also tend to last longer. Most of your lower end kind of hobby / prosumer small business lasers are going to be water cooled, glass filled, or a glass CO2 tube, and it needs that water cooling to keep that cool. So you're even on a 40 watt, it's ideal to have a chiller unless you have a really temperature controlled environment. Because the smaller ones are basically just radiators. They're only going to bring the water down to air temperature. So you want to have active cooling on most of them, unless you, like I say, step up to like an RF module on them.
Yeah, it's coming out of there, getting a little bit of detail coming through there, a little depth.
Josh is mentioning one laser, and yeah, they're definitely a decent looking laser. I've seen some good things about them, but haven't seen a lot of people with them out in the wild yet. Yeah.
Well, the one thing that they look a lot like Thunder, and they're saying that a lot of the parts are made in, I guess they share factories and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the one thing, I run the Thunderbolt up there for my buddy Tim every now and then. That thing's it's a pretty beast of a machine, but the one laser version of it is it doesn't have a powered Z-axis, so you have a riser kind of like you have with the P2 or the Atom Stack Craft or whatever. So that's a bit of a difference, and the way the head is made on the one laser looks a little different, but it appears to be a decent machine. I've actually looked at them. They have their what's it called, the Hydra series or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit bigger, but and I've looked at those, but I don't know enough about them, and I've seen a few of them have been reviewed. I know a few people that got them that did like one video and then they disappeared. So I don't know if that was because it became problematic. You know what I mean? I don't know what the deal is with that. So I don't know. But if they wanted me to test one, I'd be glad to. Especially if it had a 30, if it had like a 32 by 24 work area, that would be awesome because that would fit my stove covers. But right now, my big machine, somebody was asking a while ago about my big machine, but right now it is my X40 Max. Ooh, forgot about that. So that currently is my big machine. And that machine right there made me total this weekend about $1,200. Is what that the pieces that's been cut or engraved in that machine since Friday is about $1,200 worth. So I can't do without a machine that size. And my problem that I've had with some of the CO2s is, and I'm a little worried about getting a big CO2 because a lot of times, CO2s won't brown the wood. They just want to remove it. And with pine, you kind of need it to be brown a little bit, or else your engrave just disappears. So I'm a little concerned about that as far as moving over to a CO2, but we'll see.
Yep.
But I also have another machine that I'm supposed to be getting that very well may be my machine that I use, and it may be much faster than the X40 at doing what needs to be done. So we'll see how that goes.
D Diggs is asking if we looked at the UFE one yet. Yeah, I showed a little bit last week, and then I've got a video out this week on it of what I've played around with it. So definitely go back and look at that. And we talked a little bit earlier the live stream about some of the concerns around ink and print heads and such. Sounds like more information will be coming out shortly from them on that, some of the details. So I know it's a bit of an investment for people to jump in on a $1,600 to $2,000 printer. But I'm hopeful it does live up to, some longevity, because like I said, I've already shown a few of my customers some of the things. I've given them out some free coasters and such, and they're already asking me like, okay, give me some pricing on some things. So I think if you're in the business of customizing things, it can definitely be a good addition to your arsenal. And so it's worth considering, but it's also a new product out there. It's not a commercial unit. It's aimed at kind of the home small business use. So that's got some pluses and minuses as far as what they're doing with it. So hopefully more information continues to get out there as their Kickstarter is going live, so people can make informed decisions about it. And I'll continue to put out some content and information on it as I continue to work with it as well. So stay tuned to my channel for more on that.
Yeah. 3 Rusty Nails is saying for doing deep engraves, 3D coins, you need air blowing on the coin. Otherwise, the material stays in the grooves, will not give you a clean engrave. Well, I know a lot of people say that, but so far I've chewed through a couple of brass coins, a couple of pieces of aluminum bar, and done this one. And I've got a 6-inch fan that is sucking right there, right where that coin. You can see every little piece that flies up is flying towards that black box you see. That's because there's a 6-inch exhaust fan sucking everything out of there. My problem with it being open like that and having air blowing on it is I'm encouraging those little particulates of aluminum to be flying around inside my shop rather than getting sucked down in that pipe. So if I get a little less efficient engrave, so be it. I would rather allow the vacuum to suck that stuff and blow it out back rather than, air be blowing it around inside the shop. So I haven't
a good
noticed
argument for an enclosure.
Yeah, I haven't noticed any aluminum powder in the bottoms of the engraves. Like I said, it's if you turn the lights out and you watch the dust flying out of that thing getting sucked up in that hose, it is it's pretty intense. There's a lot more dust and stuff over there than what you can see with it running like this.
ATX Woodcraft just bought a Reno 65 Pro for CO2 for me. The size sold me, of course, the power. So, I think the 45 has been a nice machine for me. Like I say, I think maybe you checked out my. I did a YouTube short on just testing bypassing the air assist, and so that's going to be probably the biggest upgrade that I would recommend on that one. Is if you can put it on shop air variable, that's great. If nothing else. Putting it on even what I was running the test work was with one of these Atom Stack air pumps. This one's a little dusty, but the hose will just fit on there. You can pop that panel off and do some testing with that. So if you have one of these, you can play around with that as well. But that I think really brings it to life as far as its capabilities. So yeah, I hope to. I've got a couple more parts to buy, and then I got to make sure I got the time, because I gotta make sure I record all the things so I can show people how to do it. That's a little more time consuming than just doing it, but hopefully we'll get that worked out and help people get even a little more out of that unit. Bill's got an A70. Tried to cut some fairly detailed pieces just to see how it would do. Lots of brown staining around the cuts. Will it help to use shop air more to clean that up? Probably. It's definitely a variable that can help you with that. But part of the problem is, as you get into the higher power lasers, two things happen. You generally have a little bit wider beam, so details get a little bit harder to get at. And with that power, is you're causing a lot of sintering, and it's going to be a little more aggressive on that. So you may actually find you might want to dial it down in power a little bit. Even try the switch to the half power or something, and that'll help you out. But it's just going to take a little more time on some of those detail pieces. It kind of looks like maybe Clack's going to set up some sort of demonstration here.
Well, I've got my, I run my 70 right here beside me. And I've got it run. I run it on shop air. So I don't use the typical Atom Stack pump. I do like their pump. Their pumps are, as far as air assist pumps goes, theirs work really well. But yeah, here we go. Let's see. Let's see if my fan up. The camera over there is not working.
Oh, I know that pain.
Yeah, well, it's plugged in. It's got something to do with my USB cable. But let me set this up. I can go this way. You can see it here. So I'll set in the, let's see, with this machine. Material library. All right, this stuff right here is stubborn, so I'm going to run like 8 millimeters a second. Put that right there. Hang on. Let me move it over my material so I can set the focus. This thing does have an extremely long focal reach on it. Oh, I do like that. So here we go. Let me see how this cuts here. This is running shop air. So rather than using the Atom Stack. So in the event that you do want to upgrade your air setup, you'll be able to see the difference. All right. All right. Now this is a pre-finished material, but there you go. I got no stain whatsoever. I got a little bit of flashback on the back from my honeycomb that needs cleaning, but there you go. So if you're getting really bad soot on the outside of the cut, a lot of times if you'll slow your machine down to where you can get a single pass cut, you won't see that as much. If you're trying to run multiple passes when you don't need to, you're going to see more of that soot because it's not letting that air assist punch a hole all the way through the material and blow the smoke out the back. It's making that smoke actually circle back in the cut and blow up towards the module. It's also going to make your module run a lot dirtier. But I love my shop air setup. The Atom Stack works okay without it, but I just like it better because I can dial it up or dial it down.
So can you run that same test, but have a couple lines that are fairly close to each other to show how that may or may not? Because I think that's what he was getting at, was when he had fine detail, like fine thin parts. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that might be part of what he's
Now,
having a little struggle with.
I can say that maybe you may be going too slow on that. May get it back over here and get her loaded up. Uh, all right, so you're saying small details. So let me see what I got over here. Small details.
While you're working on that, Robbie's asking, is it $50 deposit for the UV printer? They had the deposit option leading up to the Kickstarter going live, but I think right now you can just jump straight to the Kickstarter. And generally the way this works is that you make your pledge, you put in your payment information, but you won't be charged until it's successfully funded. So this would, you would be charged end of June when the Kickstarter ends. So
I forgot the home.
I don't believe they have the $50 deposit anymore, and I think that just kind of got you like an extra $100 off or something like that. So it's a little confusing when they do the Kickstarter, but they have their own little kind of pre-Kickstarter bonus or benefit. So could be a little bit wrong there, because they, even before that, they were, because of all the tariffs hitting, they were telling us like, oh, this is what the price is going to be. Then they said, hold on, we got to reevaluate because of that. And so there's been a few numbers going around.
I'll try not to let this one fall out when I pick it up. So what we got going on over here?
Madra is asking, I do most of my design in Aspire and then export. Is the Lightburn trial version different from actual purchase, or do I have to look at my settings more in depth? No, the Lightburn trial version is a full functioning copy. So whatever you export from Aspire into Lightburn, that'd be the same with the full purchase versus the trial. So usually I find, now I've done the same thing from VCarve Pro, not quite Aspire, but if I export as not STL, but SVG or DXF into Lightburn, it tends to work fine. But if you have multiple layers and such, that's where you have to take a little closer look at some of that. You might find that you need to go through and use the Lightburn tools to double check that all the lines are closed, because sometimes different programs won't necessarily join lines properly, or when it gets imported, it doesn't necessarily see that join. So, using the join open vectors option is good. So it'd be good to look at that as well.
What's up, Dragon? How are you, sir? That guy right there is committed to going live now. I see him on there a lot. I think it's finished. Nope, it ain't quite finished yet. It's almost finished. So let's get back to the with my library. I need one more monitor. That's what I need. So got that done.
Yeah, if you're missing some icons, go into you can check the go into the window, and then it will show a list of what is active. And so if it's unchecked, you might need to check that. So like the camera control and some of the other things aren't necessarily by default checked. So that's a good thing to check if you're missing certain icons.
There you go. I don't know if that helps. That's straight off a laser. No cleaning or anything. The horns The horns are very, very thin. They're not. I mean, they're not dirty, but they are very, very thin, like paper thin. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question or not. You see all
Yeah.
the little pieces down at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, like on the tail and the horns, there is that little bit of staining on them. So, I mean, if that's what he's seeing, that is kind of what happens when you get a lot of close kind of cuts next to
Yeah.
each other. So, Vacfink said they had to look up what a stove cover was all about. Not a trend I followed. Very interesting. Yeah, if you go look at fire hazard, there's usually a picture of a stove cover right next to it.
Oh, not true. Not true.
What they
See,
are.
hey, this is
Complete
the
fire
cool part
hazard.
about this material, though. Little,
Placing a piece of wood on your stove is
little
definitely a fire
alcohol
hazard.
there. Only if the stove's on.
Because people never leave stove or ovens on.
I don't.
Okay, Mr. Perfect.
You can burn your house down that way.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure people did burn their house down without putting the things on their stoves.
We wiped it off. Whew, there you go. But yeah, I think that piece of material is done.
Tampa Bay Laser Works from Diode Laser. Should I go to the Conmarker Omni UV or a Conmarker? I think Galvo Fiber is what they meant to say. It's going to depend on what you're wanting to do. The UV is really nice, kind of multi-purpose laser. It can mark on glass. It can mark on acrylic. It can do very clean edges and detailed work on wood, but it's a little bit slower. However, it's not going to be doing the deep engraving that you're seeing Clack do on the MOPA fiber that he's running right there. So if you're wanting to do deeper engraves with metal and or a lot of trying to play around with the color marking of metal, you're going to have better luck with a higher wattage fiber, regular fiber than the UV model. What's your thoughts?
From a diode, the Omni is a good machine, but it is, in my opinion, is a very specific use machine. So if you're wanting to mark like plastics and acrylics and stuff like that, then the Omni is great for that. But generally speaking, if you're doing wood projects and you're doing organic materials, tumblers, that kind of thing, I would stay either with another diode or a CO2 from a business perspective, because there's more products that you can, more common products, we'll put it that way, that you can come off of one of those machines with. The Omni is kind of like the icing on the cake. It does things that the other machines can't, but those things are very, very niche, like to the point to where it's not that often you're going to use it. Now, if you're making like earrings out of acrylic, it does a good job of cutting and engraving acrylic. Small things. Hey.
And there's also a reason you don't burn things on the stove.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. There's some truth to that.
Yeah, see, Aldrich too. His son forgot a pan on the stove once, and it melted to the bottom of the pan out after he was only allowed to use the outdoor grill. So yeah, I'm sorry. I know people buy them, but you're never going to sell me on using one in my house for a variety of reasons. I just don't. I don't see the appeal. Even as a surface, we use our stove so much that I got to put that surface somewhere, and now it's just in the way. So, but more power to people that want them, and more power to all you that can make them and get paid to do that.
That's what they say. My wife used to use one, and then she got a new stove that's got this like griddle thing on it and all this kind of cool stuff. So she doesn't anymore. Let's see what we got going on. Oh, yonder.
Ooh. I was wondering, interested in your thoughts regarding the CO2 versus RF laser. You've used the Thunderbolt a bit. What are your thoughts?
The RF, engraving wise, the RF is better. because you get the dot size of a fiber laser, basically, like with the bolt. The dot size is competitive with a lot of the fiber machines. The LPI is capable of like I think it's 1,000 LPI, which is way more than most CO2s can do. The speed that it moves is really fast for engraving. It doesn't require a chiller, which is a plus, and the metal tube for the RF lasts much longer than standard uh, tube machines. So if you're only engraving and doing anodized materials and stuff like that, or like what my buddy Tim does, he does a lot of acrylics, a lot of the coated metal for like awards and stuff. All of that stuff, the Thunder just does an awesome job on. If you do a lot of cutting, which is kind of where I'm torn because I like the Thunderbolt, but I do have jobs like I just finished for Maymayda where I'm having to cut out a bunch of pieces. So I need something that can do cutting really well. So if cutting's your thing, then I would stick to a actual tube laser with interchangeable cones if you can get them. If not, like if you get like I say a Monport or an Omtech or something like that, you might not have that option. But yeah, the RF is really great for engraving, but it's not going to compete with a regular tube CO2 when it comes to cutting, because it is insane how fast that Thunder runs tumblers and stuff. It's just crazy.
Tracy agrees too. Things that kept me employed for many years, 28 years in the fire service.
How long has this one been running? 41 minutes. So I'm almost about ready to see if I can stop old Steve over there. It's starting to get a little detail to it too. Look at that right there.
Yeah.
It's well, got a little depth.
I've scrolled to the bottom of the comments, so if we've missed your comment or question, go ahead and drop it in again. We'll try to hit that up. Sometimes we get a little long-winded on some and scroll. We end up missing some as we get caught up. But also a good time to remind everyone we do have various socials. So if you're following us on YouTube, check out our Facebook pages, check out our Facebook group. They're linked down below. It's a good way to ask questions throughout the week, and it's a growing group of people. We try to keep the commercialized stuff out, and keep it to sharing ideas, asking questions, a little bit of fun poking at Clack and I, but it's a fun group there. And if you're on Facebook and want to join that group, we'd welcome you. We also have a map link down below. And that's optional for people to drop their pin on our laser engraving community map. There's a form you can add your business name, your screen name, however you want to be labeled, and then it doesn't need to be your physical address. It just needs to be kind of your general location. So in the U.S., maybe city and state would work. But it's kind of fun to look at. And as Clack gets closer to retirement, or as we take various trips, we can use it to say, hey, we're going to be in this area, and maybe we want to do a meetup. So feel free to jump in over there. It reminds me I should update that. It doesn't update automatically, so I have to tell it to update every so often. So if you don't see it right away after you put it in there, that's why. But yeah. Otherwise, if you're here from Clack's channel, you don't know who I am, come check me out. Or vice versa. If you're here for my channel, don't know who Clack is, go check him out. We appreciate all the support and the comments and the views and everything.
Trying to go through these comments again, make sure I didn't miss nothing. Sandra, you can. I'm not going to say you can't engrave baseballs. It depends on what the baseball is made out of. I've done them with diode machines. they do okay, but uh, typically with like a UV or even a pretty sure I used a fiber to do them because they have the white paint on them and it turns it black. But you got to find the right settings, and you'll burn up a lot of them finding the right settings because I did. I feel like the UV would be the way to go, but that that's, like I said, that machine is very niche. Ryan Ballard. Ryan, I ain't forgot about you, man. I'm waiting on some acrylic to come in. I didn't realize I was slap out of black acrylic from JDS. So I had to order it from JDS, and of course, it takes a little while. Because I've got some other black acrylic, but you go on to Amazon, and some of that stuff I've not had great results with it. So yeah, I got some black coming from JDS. I think it's supposed to be your Wednesday. AXT, the X40 Max is a good machine. That's my cash cow when it comes to doing jobs and stuff. So I like it. So what else we got going on? I'm just sitting here waiting on this. I want to see what this looks like when it gets done over here. Oh, it's down in there, boy. It's on in there. Woo!
Jason with S&J Custom Laser says they marked the first silicone watch bands with UV today. UV left a very nice black marks on the white silicone. I haven't tried that yet. It'll be interesting to give that a shot.
I've tried them with regular fibers, with like with fiber lasers. I didn't have very good luck. So the UV would definitely be the way to go with that, though.
Well, I have a nice. Now these are generic ones, but I have a nice collection of Apple Watch bands in different colors to try. Not that I have an Apple Watch to put them on, but
I don't wear the bands. I wear a different band. I mean, I got an Apple Watch, but it's a different band.
yeah.
Now, Brandy uses the standard band on hers, so. AXT, be careful what you wish for. It's it can be challenging.
Say you don't have to do too much growing up to be like Clack. If you grow up too much, you're going to be taller than Clack.
All right. What G-code file extensions do you use with UGS or G-Sender to send instructions to Genmitsu 4040 Pro Max? .nc, .g-code, etc. It's GBR. It's going to be your post processor is just going to be standard GRBL. You'll have to pick whether your design was built in millimeters or inches. I think with the Pro Max, I think most of my files were .ncs. I'd have to open up Vectric and look. Les Steve's already got it open since he's been playing with his Genmitsu over there.
Oh, just going to look at, see here.
Yeah, Ballard's got a point. He said AXT wants a bad back and knees. Hey, it's getting better. I was out there today in the yard cutting grass and doing all that, and it's doing better. I still ain't where I was. But.
Yeah. So the post processor I'm using in VCarve for the 4040 Pro Max as well as the Masuder, it puts out a G-code file.
Oh, does it?
Yep. Dot G-code.
Let's see what my machine over yonder's got. Yeah. Now that you mention it, those are all .g codes. What is the NC? I've seen that somewhere before. Huh.
Numerical control. I think it's another generic G code.
Maybe that was what the output for that rotary was. Yeah, all mine are G codes. I just happened to look over my computer that runs my CNCs in the project files. Chris says, do you know the difference between what the difference is between CO2 heads types E, A, A-S, etc.? Not. I don't guess I do. Other than there are different focal lengths. That's what you're talking about. I don't know. Like I said, there's the bigger CO2s is something that I haven't messed with a whole lot. I've run multiple desktops, but not that many of the big cabinet ones. Craig, the cameras are okay. The all of these companies that make a camera, the weak point has always been the mounting apparatus. Matter of fact, that camera right there is actually an atom stack camera for a laser. But if you look over my shoulder, you can see right there that little boom coming out right there from across there. It's not a terrible mounting system, but for a laser, if you're not going to mount it to, like, let's say an enclosure or something really really solid, you're not going to get you're not going to get a constant accurate camera, because any little bit of movement on that camera is going to create issues.
Mm-hmm.
You've had a few of them as well. What I mean, you agree? I'm assuming.
Yeah, it all comes down to the mounting. I mean, the atom stack one is nice because it can articulate to get it into the spot. But ideally, if you could mount it on something a little more rigid, with that, I mean, yeah, basically you have to keep it really locked into orientation with the laser. I think the one that I felt was probably done the best, but I haven't seen in forever, is that old Comgrow camera. That thing was you could pick up the laser by that camera,
Yeah.
stay in place.
Yeah. Now that one, once you bolted it together, it wasn't moving.
Yeah. So, but the atom stack one basically has some ball heads that clamp down, and so there's always the way to get bumped a little bit. So the more rigid, the better. So if you've got an enclosure and you can mount it to the enclosure that's a little more solid, I would do it that way. Like Clack said, the camera itself is pretty decent. Anyway, got about 10 minutes left. So last call for questions.
Yep. Comments, questions, or concerns.
See all right, I think
I'm about ready to stop Steve over here. Let me get it to a good stopping spot. Man, that thing's dished. That thing's in there. You see that ledge around the edge?
Yep.
And I'm going to try to stop it as soon as it finishes this pass right here. I'm going to try to catch it before it makes it across. There we go. Woo-hoo-hoo. All right, I'm going to check something while we're doing it.
Well, Michael says, evening, Steve, and nice shades, Ray Charles Clack.
I'm going to use this, and I'm going to see how much junk dumps out of there, if any. I don't think there's any. Oh, wait a minute. I got to run my cleaning passes before I touch it. About forgot.
Oil Lamp Studio. Is there a way to see the machine hours on any of these diode machines? Say the craft. That's a good question. Let me see if Atom Stack Studio. Sometimes the proprietary software will bring it up. I know, like in Xtools machines, like on their P2 at least, you can. Oh, I gotta disconnect from Lightburn first. All right, let's see here. I don't know if they have that in this software. No, it just shows the firmware versions. So yeah, not always. It is kind of nice. So like on Ruida controllers on larger CO2s, you can go in and look at the machine time and sometimes also the laser power time. So they'll tell you how long the machine itself has been running, but also how many hours are on like the tube itself. But I'm not seeing within the Atom Stack Studio software much information about the machine itself here. So
It's almost done.
Jeff Stone says, hey, Clack, thanks for the tutorial on Dollar Tree mugs with Ceramark and Xtool F1. Made it easy and cheap for mess ups.
Yeah. All right. So I can take these off now because I am done for tonight with that. Let me get this thing over here. Woo! Hot potato. Hot potato.
Speaking of fire hazards.
It took a minute. Them old calloused up fingers. All right. Yeah, no dust in there. That's good news. We'll spray it with a little Windex. Let that thing calm down just a little bit. Steve, yours got hotter than mine did. Wow, that's still warm. All right, so let me close all this out. Look at this thing cooled off. This thing is a little warm.
Well, you warmed it up with your side.
No, I think it's because yours just has a lot more recesses. Or maybe it was just I got the cool out of it with my engrave, and then yours kind of got it. Now I've got to go back and, like I said, I'm gonna put some of that black, antique black in the back of it, and then I'm gonna sand it and polish it on the outside. But yeah, check that out. Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
see, I want to do that, but then color it with the UV printer.
Well, I don't have a UV printer, Steve. So
well, I don't have a 60-watt MOPA fiber either.
I really don't appreciate you bringing up the fact that I didn't give you. Just rubbing it in.
Michael, he's playing with a laser I don't have, which is a 60-watt MOPA fiber laser. I'm stuck with my 20 watts. That'll take four times as long to do half as much work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that needs, like I said, it needs some more polishing and a little buffing. But, and I don't know if you noticed or not, but like there's yours and there's mine, which I can't. Let me see if I can rotate it without moving my hand. There we go. So yeah, it turned out really good. Needs a little polishing, but we'll get that done, and this will take the place of my old one over here that I did with whatever machine I did it with. This is my old Vintage Workshop Black Shack coin.
So, Oil Lamp's asking, you were talking earlier about engraving and getting that color on a diode versus CO2. Do you ever use the borax or other processes or prefer the natural burn look? I prefer not to add, like when you're talking about wood and things like that, I prefer not to add things to it because generally you're just creating soot. And that's what's making it darker. And it's not the actual fibers of the material that turn as dark. And so it tends to be messier. You tend to have to seal it in, otherwise it goes away or makes a mess. So I'm not a fan of most of those methods. Now it's different with metal in the fact that you can use things like, marking spray, which actually fuses to the metal. But most of those other methods tend to just create more soot and not so much that they're darkening the wood. So I go for natural look. There are ways you can, people forget you can defocus the beam to kind of get more of a sintering. Even with the CO2, you can defocus the beam a bit and it'll give it it's a less effective burn. So it's more of a sintering than it is a vaporization. And then you can play with that to get a better color sometimes. So yeah, Mark was saying there, he's tried borax and black and he was just dust and came off. So
yeah, borax, if you use borax before you touch it, breathe on it real hard or get it into a windy environment, you better spray it with some clear coat, because all it does is it makes more soot. It makes more black soot. That is it. I mixed up some when I first got into this stuff. Matter of fact, I got a whole bag of borax over there. If anybody wants it, you can have it. Because other than, I guess I could, like, what is it? Like, you can use it to wash your clothes or whatever. But I've got a whole bag of it over there, and I don't use it. I've got a jar. I had a jar up until recently of it up here mixed in a solution, and I kept trying it with different materials, different woods, and finally I'm just like, you know what? This is just nothing. You'll have better luck pulling your laser up 2 to 3, some machines all the way up to 4 millimeters out of focus. That way, instead of the beam being like focused to the point where it just destroys the material, it actually like singes it and burns it, and it'll give you a darker finish. So you have a lot better luck doing that than you do with borax. Borax will also, with some woods, it'll turn them yellow, turn them green. It interacts with the chemistry of the wood and causes bad things to happen. So yeah, borax is a no-go for me. I don't put anything on there. If I engrave something and the test run doesn't look dark enough, I'll just raise my focus, typically about 3 millimeters, and that'll do it. So.
Well, Oil Lamp, I'm glad you were able to come and ask questions. And those actually, it's great when we have questions because we can answer those. And otherwise, we have to get Clark on his timer because he'll just talk. But no, that's what we like doing here is answering questions the best of our ability and help people out. So glad you could make it and that we could answer questions.
Yeah, Michael, the fibers are it's especially the MOPAs, because with a regular, like a diode laser and a CO2 laser, for the most part, I mean, there are some diodes and CO2s that you can manipulate the frequency of the beam or the pulse rate type stuff, but for the most part, with a diode or a CO2, you've got speed and power. That is your only two real variables. Yes, you have focus as well, but focus is mostly overlooked by most folks. I play around with it a lot. But when you get into a fiber, now you have speed, power, focus, and frequency. Well, when you get into a MOPA, now you have speed, power, focus, frequency, and pulse. So you have more variables. And when you have 5 variables, you can create settings to give you many, many different appearances. Like, you ain't even got to change the speed and the power. You can just change the frequency and the pulse and get a total different look. And that's what it takes. A lot of testing. I've been playing around with this, and the bad thing about it is this thicker stainless steel. Like, this is thick enough that I can actually heat it up and try to get colors and stuff. This stuff's not cheap, and I've tried sanding this down and reusing it, but once you heat this up and get those colors, it basically affects this material like deep down in there because of the heat. So you'll be able to see the footprint of that. But this is testing piece of material that I've got, and this is like a 3 millimeter thick piece of stainless. Like this is basically my security to make sure I don't burn into my bed on this machine, because I have found that I will burn holes, slap through stuff testing this machine.
Bill's asking, where do you get the pre-finished plywood?
Rugby Architectural Materials. But yeah, see, this was one of my attempts at doing a challenge coin. It burned all the way through it. I was actually seeing how many passes it took. Recycle an old skill saw blade, and Steve would be happy.
So, Bill, what I would recommend is look for your local hardwood dealer or cabinet maker, supplier of hardwoods. Try to get away from your typical big box stores. Menards does here in the Midwest have some pre-finished plywood. It's kind of hit or miss. But if you get to an actual lumber dealer, they generally have access to better plywoods from different distributors. So look around for that.
Yeah, Rugby actually has several locations around the country. So if you go to Rugby Architectural Materials, you can see the closest one to me is here in Clanton. Then they got one in Birmingham and one in Atlanta. I can't remember exactly how many locations they have, but there's a few of them, and they have all kind of exotics as well. So like if you wanted to go get some wood for your CNC or whatever, they have that as well. And it's not cheap, but they literally have about any kind of material you can think of. They've got MDF of all thicknesses. They've got, birch plywood of different thicknesses. This is birch. Now, the guy told me, he's like, this is birch. He said, I'm not going to tell you it's Baltic birch. It's probably not from the Baltic region. He said, but it's birch plywood. And this stuff is solid. It is definitely solid compared to some of the stuff that you get, the Luan and stuff. It doesn't bend. It doesn't give the way that the old Luan I used to use does. So it's been really good for me. Now it's stubborn. You got to have a 40-watt machine if you plan on doing a single pass on this. If you've got a 20-watt machine, you're going to be running 2 or 3 passes to get through it. It's really hard material, but it holds up really well. Like you can do finger joints and they won't break off.
Ryan's asking, did anyone do anything for May the 4th? We went and bought some Star Wars Legos. I printed out a little magnet and threw out a little short video on YouTube for that. So it's just basically the original Star Wars poster put on a magnet, not for commercial purposes, just for personal. So that's kind of, it's kind of just a fun little thing to throw out there. And in that, it, like I say, it used about 4 cents of ink to do that. But I forgot to bring it out here. I could have showed that.
Nerd. I'm just throwing that out there. You're a bit of a nerd.
Big Mike from Florida. Have you tried to use the UV printer to put a varnish layer on wood to make your own true flat style wood? No, the UV printer is it's got about a 13 by 15 give or take inch working area, and that would be kind of a waste of their expensive ink.
The true flat would be cheaper.
yeah, buying it would be definitely,
and you would probably get a better product too,
or just spraying your own on. Yeah, so especially with the fact that I can't just go out and buy replacement ink right now. We'll save some of the weird stuff for later when I know I can replenish supplies a little easier. Ryan, that hurts, man. just for that, look what I was testing on this tag.
Oh,
Ryan.
Oh.
So there on Star Wars Day, I was using Star Trek logos to test some material.
Well, I didn't. If it hadn't been for, I think Brandy was the one telling me about it. I wouldn't have even known what y'all were talking about. So, oh yeah, it's coming along. This is going to be awesome, Steve. It's going to be awesome. Where's right here? Now it's going to take a lot more time, but it's getting there. I got to wait on my black stuff to get here. Got a little, what is this, 400 grit. So polish it down real good with the 400 grit. Then, I don't know, walk it down to whatever it takes.
All right.
All right, 2 hours and 6 minutes, guys. We've enjoyed it. I've had fun. I'm just really proud that I've been able to do a deep relief on a coin. I just want to throw that out there to you guys. This is a momentous occasion for me because I have tried with every other machine I've got, and I've never been able to do it. So this is pretty momentous for me here. Now I'm just wanting to see what Steve's logo looks like on his side of the coin. Maybe
So
more difficult.
I got a new thing in today. It was recommended from actually from Bittner Built. But this is a air quality monitor.
Yeah.
And so it measures CO2, VOCs, temperature, humidity, things like that. And so you're supposed to calibrate these, out in the open air.
Yeah.
And I went through that process, and I'm hoping it worked. Because I was getting some weird. It started actually sitting out in my yard. It started giving me a CO2 error. I'm like, I know we got the smoker going, but come on. So we'll see if I've got
one of those, but it's a handheld one.
Yeah, I've got that one as well. This one's only about $28. So I'm sure the results are incredibly scientific, but it'll be interesting to run it to see what it comes up with. So
Roger.
If it looks like it's valuable, because sometimes, like you mentioned, with you're running the fiber laser and there might be particulate, or even some of our other lasers, it'd be nice to kind of see if there's if it's picking up
I'm sure there is some escaping no matter what you've got them in.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to avoid that. But yeah, I think with this machine, this may be the one that I end up building me an enclosure for. Now that I feel like this one gives me the ability to do like real, like this some pretty cool stuff. So other than maybe upgrading the source, I think I'm probably as high as I'm going to get. I don't know how many 100-watt fiber MOPAs are going to be being sent out. So
yeah,
you never know. Maybe we'll get it. Maybe they'll get into a bidding war and start sending me more of them. But yeah, I think 60 is probably going to be about as high as I'm going to get without investment.
Yep. Well, maybe someday I can at least catch up to your 30-watt.
Well, if you come down here now, I've got a 30.
Well,
now I've got Tim over at the trophy shop is dying to get his hand on one because he uses, he keeps having to send me all his metal stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I know. Well, Cody's looking for one too, so he can start marking his bits. So
yeah. Cody, swing on by. On your way to the grocery store.
Yeah, I'm just knocking things over.
Tray skillers, it was, I let it cook about an hour on each side, I think is what it was. And so you're looking at 2 hours to do two-sided, which is, that's a long time. But if you think about compared to the other machines that I've had, that's really quick. I've waited much, much longer. and not had the results that I've got. So there you go, right there. Look at that. That turned out pretty good. And that's just I've just hit it with this 400 grit sandpaper after getting it off the machine. What I've done is I just basically taken this and laid it on the table and kind of just like walling it around. But yeah, and I've got some metal black from Birchwood ordered from Amazon. Now that stuff was not cheap. They like it. But now it's like a quart jug of it. So I was like, okay, that should last me a while. I've also got a project idea for this machine since I've never been able to do any kind of deep reliefs like this before. And being that Steve's, I guess technically from the Midwest, he may like this idea, but I ordered myself like 5 brass belt buckles. And so we're going to have some custom Clay Shack belt buckles there pretty soon. Maybe even a Ventari's Workshop belt buckle.
What does the Midwest have to do with belt buckles?
Well, out west, cowboys, belt buckles, rodeos.
I think you're confusing the Midwest with the Southwest or the South.
Y'all don't have rodeos up there, or cowboys?
I mean, yes, but it's not as prevalent as, say, Texas or Arizona.
Well, I mean, I kind of figured that. Well, if you don't want my belt buckle, that's fine. I'll have a giveaway for it. But I'm going to be making some belt buckles. I ordered them from. I found an Amazon shop. Let me see what the name of the Amazon shop was. But I found an Amazon shop that's what they just sell belts. Like they had all kinds of belts. And so I was like, you know what would be cool now that I have the capability of doing a deep engrave? My own custom belt buckle. Of course, I figured my buddy over at Cog Heel, Jason, I figured he would like to have a Cog Heel belt buckle as well. So this is what I got coming right here. It's an antique brass belt buckle. And they got several different like materials and all, but I felt like this was kind of more fitting. So I got me a bunch of those coming. And it's an 1.5 inch belt. So yeah, there you go. So we'll be having some custom made belt buckles once I master the settings. Kevin said he wants one of the belt buckles for sure. See, hey, they might be a hit. I may have to put them on Etsy. But like, you want your logo on a belt buckle? I can make it happen for you. I got to come up with some products, man. If I'm gonna be retired, me and my wife done talked about it. Because if not, she's gonna have me down at the grocery store sacking groceries. So I got to come up with something because I don't do good in grocery stores. Now I do have a couple friends that did say they would hire me to help do some networking stuff for them. I got one place in town that has CNC machines that they need operators for, but now they're big commercial CNCs. It ain't fun stuff like this. It's cutting out boat seats all day long. So I gotta make this work so I don't have to get a real job.
A real job.
Yeah. Jeffrey Lapierre says we have cowboys, rodeos, and cattle all over here in Oregon. So you just ain't far enough west. That's what it is, Steve. You too much. You got too much of that Arctic Circle. So, any recommendations for a hat heat press? I've got one, but it's a cheap one. I don't know that much about them, so I am not a good authority on that. Wild Willow does a lot of hats. You can go check her channel out, and I know she did a review on some hat presses. That's basically the bulk of her business is hats. So she would probably be a much better recommendation than my experience. I've got one hat press and I've used it twice, I think. So not your guy for hat presses.
Yeah, I've got the basic Fever one as well, and it's okay, but I feel like I have a lot of, I'm often putting like either extra foam or something underneath to try to keep the shape. And a lot of people like having the top and the bottom heated platen working for them. So it's one of those things that if you're only going to do a few, but you want a hat press, don't spend a whole lot of money. You can kind of make one of these work. But if you're going to be doing a lot of them and you don't want to muck with each hat trying to get it set just right, it's worth spending some money on a little more decent decent hat press. So
yeah,
but
my
yeah,
hat press.
I would second that. Check out Wild Willow. She's got some good recommendations.
Yeah, my hat press is I can make it work. Like Steve said, if I was doing 200 or 300 hats a day, I probably would throw it to garbage. But everything I read about it, everybody's reviews that I saw said that it works. It's just like Steve said, it's a little finicky. You got to kind of, take a piece of silicone or something and space it up, and be careful not to crease your hats and stuff. So, but anyway, all right. Say a question we'll get before we go. Put to Heart says, have you ever had a job go from a field to a line and the laser just stops firing? I can't say that I have. That sounds like a G-code error, though. I don't think I've ever had that happen. So, what about you, Steve?
No, usually the issues I run into is it'll just stop.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it'll stop and it'll still be firing, or it'll just stop, which is a good reason why never to walk too far away from your laser. But I haven't had it flip mid-job from a fill to a line. You might want to double check that you don't have. Sometimes especially if you get files from other people, there can be duplicate lines, and if you don't double check that, there might be a line layer, and then you select the top one and make that a fill, but the line layer is still underneath, and the layers are going, well, it's here, I got to mark it. So it's always good to, in Lightburn, there's actually an option you can select to automatically delete duplicate lines. So that's a good thing to check. But other than that, no, I can't say I've run into that issue. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we are actually about 17 minutes over, and I'm sitting here polishing a coin. So, yeah, this is going to be fun when I get just look at that right there.
Well, I see you take that up to like a good 1,500, 2,000 grit.
I mean,
I mirror finish on there.
I'll get it there. I got to get that black stuff on there first before I get too carried away. Because if I don't want to sand it down and then add the black and then have to sand it again, and then, because I went pretty deep with it, like it's down in there plenty, but I don't want to sand it. I don't want to sand it all away. But I don't think there's no danger of me with my 400 grit. I don't think there's no danger of me sanding it too deep, too fast. So, yeah, this is going to be a cool little project when I get through with it. We might have to auction it off or something. I don't know. This is going to be pretty cool. This will be the very first ever like deep engraved coin I've ever done. Like I don't know that you can put a value on that, Steve. This is like
This
is like priceless now. Now you can probably get this. catch me wanting a laser. You can get it pretty cheap. All right, guys. But until next time, we'll see you later. I'm gonna keep polishing.
All right. We'll see everyone.